Hi Homeworthy, I'm Emily White and this is my home tour in Evanston, Illinois. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Emily White and I am an interior designer and content creator. So we are on the North Shore of Illinois. We're specifically in Evanston, which is a really beautiful neighborhood on the North Shore, right 30 minutes outside of Chicago. We've lived here for about 3 years now. We bought our house as a fixer-upper and we've spent the last 3 years really infiltrating the home with character and love. I've gone through pretty much every room, putting my own take and spin on it, and it's been really, really fun. So you're gonna see a lot of original character, some more historically accurate character that we've put into the home, as well as a lot of wallpaper, texture, moody colors. It's awesome. My husband and I have always loved really old things. The first condo that we bought in Chicago was an historic walk-up, and we just loved all the charm and quirks that come with an old home. So when we were looking to move out of the city and put some roots down, we fell in love with this home. It was built in 1919 and it was in really, really bad shape. And we just thought that the idea of bringing it back to life, putting the character back and loving it for all of its quirks and fun things that come with very old homes would be really fun. And so we bought the house at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was a little crazy, and it took a year of renovations before we moved in to the house. Well, welcome to my living room. This is such a great room. It's a little bit unique because it's very long and narrow, so the layout kind of gave me a hard time for a little bit, but we worked it out. So one of my favorite pieces of this room is this gallery wall. I actually got these prints off of Etsy and just had them framed. It looks super, super expensive, and it really wasn't. And then a lot of the other pieces you'll see are all Facebook Marketplace finds. So this antique nesting side tables, this really, really cool marble-topped bar that we use when we're hosting was $20 from Facebook Marketplace, if you can believe it. I love this little space. It's where I keep family photos, which I think is a really fun way to add personality into your home. And then we have, oh, Ruby's coming to say hello. This is our bulldog, Ruby. She's very friendly. Next, I want to share, these are antique chairs. I get questions on them all the time. They're beautiful brown chocolate velvet. They're super, super comfortable. Again, Facebook Marketplace. I got both of these for $50. Amazing. The next thing I want to point out in our living room, one of my favorite things is our fireplace. We had this refaced when we did our renovations a couple years ago. This mantle is original to the house. So in 1919, when the house was built, this was the mantle and it's still here. We replaced the surround with this reclaimed Chicago brick. It's very special and unique. If you zoom in on some of the bricks, you can see they have Illinois Brick Company, and it's just one of those things that gives our house a little extra charm. Over here, we have our French doors that lead out to the front. These are great to open in the summer. They are also original to the house, a little bit fun fact. You'll also see throughout the house these original cut glass doorknobs. We tried our best to keep those in the house, and we kept them everywhere we could. The original hardwood floors in here were in really, really bad shape. They had water damage. They were cracking and we needed to replace them. But I wanted to pay homage to the historic elements of the home. And so we chose to do a herringbone pattern in both this half of the house, so the living room and the office, and also the dining room. Herringbone pattern is a very classic and traditional flooring pattern, and I think it's so, so beautiful. And so we chose to do a very light white oak engineered hardwood, and we inlaid them in a herringbone pattern in here, and then we chose a very wide plank straight lay in all the rest of the house. So So the last thing I'll show you in this room is this is actually my most recent Facebook Marketplace find. This beautiful antique secretary was something that I thought would be perfect in this room for displaying some of my other smaller antique finds. We also keep our stationery and letters envelopes in here. It's really fun. Axel, my son, also likes stashing his cars in there. And then speaking of my kids, this was an original oil painting that I found, I believe, at an estate sale a few years ago, and it ended up being perfect because it has two kids, a little boy with red hair, and my 3-year-old Axel has bright red hair, so that's kind of perfect, and then a little girl with blonde hair, and we had our little blondie, Lucy, about a year ago. So this special painting that I loved forever ago has come to represent my two little ones, and it's really special. So that is the living room, and next I'm gonna take you to the office. So there were a few parts in the renovation where it felt like we were never going to get through it. Working with old homes can be challenging. A few parts of the renovation were a little challenging. I would say we had to add in central air. If you live in an old home, you know a lot of them don't have air conditioning, and that was one of the things that we chose to put in the home. We didn't realize how challenging it would be. We had to kind of come up with a creative solution, but thank God for amazing contractors and communication. We were able to make it work. I will also say another thing is the flooring. In old homes, sometimes the flooring is uneven, and so replacing the floors was difficult, to say the least. So next, I'm gonna bring you into the office. This is a really nice space that we actually use a lot. The first thing I wanna point out is this really fun, colorful rug that we have on the floor. This is a antique rug. I would say most of the rugs in my house are antique. I just love how durable they are, how fun and unique they are, and they're really great with kids, easy to wash. So that's a little bit about the rug. In here, we color drenched the space. I really wanted a moody, green office. The built-ins are the same color, the ceiling, the trim, everything is rosemary by Sherwin-Williams. It's probably one of my favorite colors ever, and I love working in this space. So these built-ins are amazing. They take a while to style, but it's a good thing I love styling shelves. I love displaying some of my smaller antique pieces and decor. I also have mismatched some Target and Home Goods finds. This is a woven tray from Target. We have a little bust that looks vintage, but it's actually Amazon. We have some framed vintage art, and altogether, I feel like it just gives a really cool, moody backdrop. Next, I want to point out this really awesome light fixture. This is from Amazon, if you will believe it or not. It's under $200, and I loved it because I wanted to do a light fixture that wasn't going to take away from the moody paint color, plus this is a smaller room. So I think the clear crystals are gorgeous. They make a statement without taking away from everything else that's going on in the room. So that is the light fixture. And then the desk, which I get questions on a lot, is actually a restoration hardware desk. It's something that we splurged on, but I thought the size, the color, the finish, everything was so perfect for this room. I love that it stands right in the center, and you have a beautiful view out into our backyard when you're working on whatever you're working on. So that is our office. Next, I'm gonna take you into our kitchen. So I would describe my overall design style as a little bit of a mix. I really lean towards traditional and vintage elements. So you're gonna see a lot of secondhand antique finds. That is my bread and butter. I love searching on Facebook Marketplace for special treasures that people are selling. I also love going to antique stores and flea markets, estate sales, and finding special pieces that I think will curate a timeless and classic look. I also like light and bright colors as well as a contrast of moody colors. So I like, you'll see like this room is very light and bright, and then we have a moody library, we have a very moody dining room. So overall, I would say I am very traditionalist with a little modern spin here and there. So the next space I'm really excited to show off is our kitchen. I feel like this project is one of the biggest transformations from what it used to look like when we bought the house and today. Everybody loves this kitchen. I love this kitchen, and I think we made some really great timeless choices. So first, I want to share our countertops. I really wanted marble when we were renovating the house, but we knew we were gonna have kids, and my husband said, I don't think now is the time. So I found this really beautiful sea pearl quartzite. Quartzite is a natural stone. It's known for its statement veining and its really cool toned shades, but it's durable like a quartz or a man-made stone, and so it's great for kids. I love it. We did a very thin countertop. We also actually brought it up the backsplash on our range wall. And I just love how you can see all of the intricate veining, and it really creates a statement. On this wall, rather than bringing the countertop up, I chose to use a 2x6 Zalige tile. This is a handmade tile. It's really beautiful because each piece is really unique, and it comes with a lot of texture and range of color. It's also a very cool toned white, and I thought it complemented the cool tones of the countertop really well. So we brought it all the way up to the ceiling to really create that illusion of height, and I think it's really cool. One of the things we also changed in the kitchen was it had a very tiny window. It was pretty much the size of just this middle section, and I said, we need more light in this kitchen. And so we blew out this wall and we put in this 3-sectioned window that I think is so gorgeous. You can see our neighbor's house, which is really pretty, and when you're doing the dishes, it's just a nice little vibe. So over here, we have my pot rack, which is another one of my favorite elements of our kitchen. We had our marble fabricator just drill the pot rack right into the stone. It was a little nerve-wracking, but they said it could be possible. So we did it, and I'm so glad that we did because I feel like it's the perfect place to display all my antique copper pots. And so we just hang them. I have lots more in storage, and every once in a while I'll change them out, and it's just a fun little look. And then here, I also always get questions on my range. This is an Ilvi range, and it looks like it's 100 years old, but it functions great. It's a very modern range. I love the brass details, the brass knobs. The white is really beautiful with the creamy cabinet color. And then if you can see on the bottom, they have these really fun scroll legs that really just round out that vintage feel. While I'm talking about the cabinets, I also want to point out that these are Sherwin-Williams Creamy. It's the perfect creamy white. I wanted something warm and inviting while still keeping that classic white kitchen vibe. And so I went with this really warm white shade, and I feel like it's just timeless paired with our unlacquered brass hardware. Over here, we have our island, and this island works so hard. I chose, even though the space is small square footage wise, I really wanted a big island, and I think that also helps make this kitchen feel larger than it is. This island works so hard. If you notice, we don't have an official pantry. So this island is where we store our food. It's also where we have our microwave drawer, which is really easy and fun to use. And it's great. I chose a quarter sawn white oak stained in a chestnut matte stain. And that is how you get all of this beautiful veining in the wood. And then I chose a matte finish because I didn't want a glossy effect. I wanted everything to look really matte. And I love how the really dark wood plays off with the light oak floors, the creamy cabinets, and I think it all just plays together really well. Last thing I want to point out about our kitchen is these bar stools. These are not only super comfortable, but I got them from World Market, so they're very affordable. They look high-end. I'm pretty sure there are a few retailers that have a similar look for way, way more expensive, but these work for us. We've had them for 3 years now, and we love them. They're super wide and durable, easy to wipe down and clean, and I think, again, a woven element in an overall pretty traditional space really adds that casualness and warmth. That's so nice. So this is our kitchen, and next I'm gonna bring you over to our coffee bar and sitting room. It's really hard to pick a favorite space in my home because I feel like when you spend time picking special things, it all feels really special. And as we've created memories as a family over the last couple years, every room has different moments that I love about it. But I will say my 2 kids' rooms, Lucy's nursery and Axel's nursery, are probably my favorite rooms. They are the ones that I probably spent the most time researching and curating things, putting special pieces together. And I also love putting little objects and decor pieces that reflect them as my kids. And I'm really proud of how those 2 rooms have come together, how they have evolved as the kids have grown, and they're really beautiful as well. So next I'm gonna take you into our sitting room. We love this room. Most of our playtime and hangout time as a family happens in this room. First, I wanna show off this hutch, which is actually a new addition to this room. This is where David and I prepare our coffee every morning. It's also where we'll have wine and cocktails and drinks when we're hosting and having parties. And so we keep all of our glassware in here, our coffee mugs, and most of the time we'll have creamer and all your coffee accessories right here, which is really great. And then another fun fact about this hutch is that it's where we store most of the kids' toys. So in these bottom sections, you'll have all of the fun things that my kids love to play with. And it's great because when we're in here, it's very accessible to them and they can open them up. We take everything out, and it's fun when we're also cooking and doing stuff in the kitchen that we can supervise all the fun that's happening in here. Next, I want to show these really fun chairs. You can actually find these on Amazon. They look so high end. Everybody's always surprised when I say that. And they are the perfect reading chair. I spend a lot of time in here. Over here, you have some more Facebook Marketplace and antique finds. I've had this lamp forever. I'm pretty sure I found this alabaster lamp when David and I were first married, and it's found a home right here. This blue velvet couch is also a fan favorite. This is from the inside, and it's a really fun turquoise blue. It's a little unexpected, but I think it's a really fun statement. Velvet is also great with kids because it's easy to clean, very durable, and we love that. This gallery wall, I'm a huge fan of gallery walls, is really special because it's curated with art that I've found and discovered on various trips that David and I have taken together. This top small one and this dark one in this corner, also this really beautiful mountain print. These are all found on our 5-year wedding anniversary trip to Capri, Italy. I love finding art in places that we travel to and bringing them home. I think it's a really fun way to remember trips and remember all of the fun memories that we're making and also create beautiful home decor. Lastly, I want to show you this really fun leather ottoman. This is actually from a small business on Etsy, which is really fun. They make beautiful leather products, and we've had this one forever. The only thing I did change was the legs. It came with, I do this a lot actually with furniture. It came with standard square block legs, and I wanted something a little bit more antique looking. So I bought the bun legs on Amazon, stained them a darker color, and David helped me screw them back on. And now I created a custom piece that feels really special and works great for the house. My trajectory into my current profession as an interior designer and content creator is a little different. I actually went to school for social work. I have my master's degree in social work from Loyola in Chicago, and I did that for a few years until the pandemic. And then when the world kind of shut down, I pivoted. I had always loved interior design. I loved working on spaces in our home as a side hustle. enjoyed it. And when we were all stuck at home, there really was nothing else to do. So we were living in our condo at the time, and I started restyling little places in the condo because I was bored, and filming myself posting pictures on Instagram, and it kind of took off from there. I really enjoyed it, and I think people really related to the mix of old and new that I was sharing, as well as seeing people live and function in old historic homes. I think that was pretty fun to share. And so from there, I kind of just decided to take it seriously. I started my blog, We're the Whites, created a website, and really just worked on consistently sharing our journey. When we bought this house and started renovating it, I feel that's when I really started taking my blog seriously and social media seriously, and it just took off from there. So next, I want to show off our mudroom. This is another hardworking space in our home, and we carved it out when we built the house because there was no mudroom. And for those people who know hard living Midwest winters and wet springs, you need a mudroom. So we created this space, and one of my most favorite elements is this pocket door that we made look into an arch with some fun construction trickery. This door is actually a square door, which you can see by the line right here, but we framed the opening as an arch so that when the door is closed, it looks like an arch door. This way we saved a lot of money, and you still get that really custom, cool look. So this is the door. Next, I want to talk about the paint color. You can see we chose a very dark color. I wanted to go moody in this room. It was also great for hiding muddy boots and splatters from dogs and pets and kids. And so we went moody, and I could not be more happy about it. This is Black of Night by Sherwin-Williams, and we color drenched this room. So the ceiling, the walls, the trim, and our built-ins are all in the same color. We had these custom made for the space. That way they took up the smallest amount of space while also creating the most amount of storage that we could get. So they reach all the way to the ceiling, and this is where all of our coats, our hats, our scarves, our shoes, everything is stored in here. They work really great, and the best part about them is that they are closable, and so all of the messiness disappears and it looks really clean 90% of the time. The next thing I want to talk about are the floors. These are the same reclaimed brick that we used when renovating the fireplace, and I thought that they would be really special in here. Brick is also a great flooring option for mudrooms and bathrooms because they're easy to clean and they hold up to really heavy everyday traffic. So you'll see we laid them in a brick lay basket weave pattern, which is just a super traditional way of laying brick. I liked how it creates a fun little pattern, and it really highlights the different spots on the brick that you can see Illinois Brick Company and all those fun little imprints. Lastly, I want to point out that we installed a beadboard on the walls. The little lines that you can see really add the illusion of height in the room, even though our ceilings are only a little over 8 feet tall. We also did the paint in a gloss finish, and so even though the room is small and dark colored, it really lets the light bounce off the walls and it feels really nice in here. That was the mudroom, and next we're gonna take you all to our dining room. I think my go-to design tip was that every room really benefits from having something organic in it, whether that is a real plant or you can get some really awesome faux stems. Just that green and organicness of florals and stems, they add a very much needed element to a room that makes it feel real and makes it come alive. I think that's really important. I also love a woven element. If you can put in like a wicker tray or a basket or something in a room, I feel like it kind of gives that casual vibe that a room can really benefit from. Welcome to our dining room. This is a really special room in the house. I also feel like it's a really great example of mixing old and new. We have this beautiful table set that was a vintage antique find. We found this a couple years ago, had the whole thing refinished, and it's a really great place to sit and gather, host family and friends. And then above, we have this beautiful brass chandelier, and this is brand new from Serena and Lily. It's beautiful. I feel like it really lends a great conversation piece. The brass also plays off really well with the colors and the wallpaper. And so this situation is one of my favorite things. I also want to point out, as I'm talking about the table, the collection of my antique blue china plates. I love blue and white ceramics. I'm a collector of them. I have a ton, and I love mixing and matching different plates and bowls when hosting and setting a table. I think it adds a fun element. I think it's a fun conversation piece, and it looks really special. Before moving on from the table, I do want to add one more thing. These beautiful silver candlesticks are an heirloom item from my husband's grandma. These were passed down to me by my mother-in-law, and they are very, very special. I feel like one of the most important things about making a beautiful home is also taking every opportunity to input special heirloom pieces that bring in those special memories. And so these are ones that I love to pull out on special occasions, and they're a really special element to the tablescape. Next, I want to show off this beautiful wallpaper. It's such a statement, and it's one of my absolute favorite things in this house. This is a Plantasia wallpaper from House of Hackney. It was definitely an ordeal to install. We had a professional wallpaper installer come and help us with this because the pattern is a little bit complex, but I think it was totally worth it. You will see that this room is a little echoey, and that is because we have a coved ceiling. This is an original detail of the house. If you look up here, the ceiling is very smooth and it comes around the corner, creating a cove or cave-like detail. And so in order to accentuate that, I chose to bring the wallpaper up the cove and end it right where the ceiling starts to flatten out. And I think it adds a really fun element to the room. Once we put the wallpaper up, I really was afraid to kind of put anything on the walls, but I think adding a few different elements like these candle sconces actually accentuate the wallpaper. These are an estate sale find. They are plated silver, and I love sticking different colored taper candles in there depending on the season. It's a really fun way to refresh the home every once in a while. I also want to point out these really cool chairs. They came with a really old school fabric seat, and David and I took on a DIY project and recovered them ourselves. I wanted to do a totally different color as a fun accent to everything else happening in the room, so I chose this peach colored velvet, and we watched a couple YouTube videos and figured out how to recover them ourselves. So now we have brand new to us dining chairs that feel really custom and cool. I also want to point out, you will see throughout our home these radiators. So all of the heat in our house comes from radiant heat, and those who know radiant heat know it is the best heating system in the world. We never have to worry about getting cold in the winter. If anything, we got to turn those babies down every once in a while. But when they asked us if we wanted to remove them and consider putting in central heating system, I said, no way. I love the way that they look. I love the way that they sound when they're letting off heat. And it's another nod to the historic elements of our home. The last corner of the room, we have this beautiful floor mirror. This looks very vintage, but it's actually new from Ballard Designs. I love it. This is actually where I share a lot of my outfit of the day videos on Instagram. And I also think as a small room, a mirror helps make it feel larger. I also love how you can see the table and the light fixture and the wallpaper all reflect off in the glass. And I think that's really fun. So this is our dining room, and next we're gonna head on upstairs. This is Lucy's nursery, and it's one of my most recently designed rooms. Lucy was born almost a year ago, which is crazy to believe. And I had so much fun creating the nursery I always dreamed about when thinking of having a little girl. The first section of her room I want to highlight is her dressing area. This is another Facebook Marketplace find that I made David go and drive to get when I was super pregnant. I found it, it came up on my feed, and I had to have it. He drove in a snowstorm, but can you blame me? Look how perfect this thing is. This is also an antique find. I loved the big, gorgeous mirror. I loved the brown finish and how perfect it looked with the white dresser. And if you look really closely, there's little floral and bow details, which you'll see I repeated throughout the space. This is also another example of a great mix of old and new. These two pieces are old vintage finds, but then this really cute scalloped wicker mirror is Target. I picked that up just a few weeks ago because I thought it looked so perfect in her room. I also mentioned that I love to infuse the rooms with little elements that I think reflect my kids' personalities. We call Lucy our Lucy Goose, and so I had to have a little ceramic goose in here for our little Lucy Goose. So I did something a little different with her crib. I feel like in a lot of girl nurseries, you see a lot of white and a lot of light and bright, and I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I chose a dark wood crib for a really vintage look. I had a wood crib growing up, and I thought it was a nice callback to my childhood. So I chose this really pretty cherry wood finish with all the modern safety features of a new crib. And then I also chose these beautiful floral prints that actually come from a calendar. And I ripped them out of the calendar, had them framed, and I just feel like they look really, really pretty above her crib and play off really nicely with the blush floral wallpaper in the back, which is from Home Depot and was the first element that I found when designing her room. Absolutely fell in love with the wallpaper, and it really helped launch the rest of the design. Before moving on from the crib, I want to point out this really beautiful handmade quilt. One of the fun things that my mom does for the kids is have a custom quilt made for each grandchild. And so every time one of us has a baby, we get to pick out special fabrics that we feel reflect the newborn and their room and their personality. And so this is what we created for Lucy. And it's just a really special heirloom piece that they will get to have forever. Moving on to this corner of the room, this is where we spend most of the time rocking, nursing bottles, reading books, doing bedtime routine, all that fun stuff. This was a really fun story behind this chair. So I found this old Lazy Boy chair on Facebook Marketplace for $15. And I loved the shape, I loved the tuft back, but I hated the fabric. So we brought this chair home and I fell in love with this awesome blush plaid fabric that I felt like looked really, really fun with the floral wallpaper. And so I had this chair reupholstered in this custom fabric. I had them add a really fun ruffle skirt detail on the bottom so it looks extra feminine and super custom. And now we have a very unique looking chair, and it's also super, super comfortable for those long nights with a newborn. Also, I want to point out these really fun shelves. This is really fun because I get to display some of my favorite little knickknacks and decor. These scallop shelves are from Amazon, and I just had them painted in the same color as the wainscoting and the trim. And then I just like to display special items that I've collected over the last 10 months of having Lucy. These are some really cute vintage books of nursery rhymes and fairy stories. I also have a beautiful swan photo, and this plate is an heirloom from an heirloom china set that belonged to my great grandma. And so I love having that energy and piece of her here. We have her little stuffy up here. And then lastly, we just finished off this corner with a nice IKEA lamp, affordable find. And you have the perfect little reading rocking nook. One of the things I want to point out are these really fun custom curtains that we had made for the room. If you have babies, you know it's really important to have blackout curtains, and sometimes those aren't the prettiest. And I wanted to make these really special looking. So we found these awesome blackout lined curtains that are very heavy duty, and they block out all of the light, so they're very functional. But we had this really fun blush tassel detail stitched onto the inside trim, and I feel like it just adds that next level of luxury and charm to the room. It's these little details that I feel like really pull a room together and make it feel special. So this is Lucy's room. Now I'm really excited to bring you on over to Axel's room. So welcome to Axel's room. Axel is our 3-year-old toddler, and this was one of the first rooms that I designed when renovating the home. When we moved in, I was super pregnant with Axel, and he was about to come any day, and it was really important for me to welcome him home in a beautifully designed nursery. And so this room holds a special place in my heart as one of the first rooms I finished when moving in. So I want to point out the beautiful wallpaper in this room. This is a Morris & Co. print, and it's in a linen and taupe color. It's floral and leafy, and it has little acorns in it, but it still feels very masculine and appropriate for a little boy. I recently transformed his reading chair into a reading nook as he's getting bigger and wants a little bit more independence. So we have these really cool acrylic shelves from Amazon that we seasonally switch out his books so that he can pick out his favorites. And we got this really cool reading tent that he loves to climb in there, play with his toys, listen to his Tony box, read books, and play with his little sister. So this is a really special corner of the room. Over here, you'll see that we still have blackout curtains, but his were a little bit easier to choose because I knew I wanted to go with a dark color. So I chose these blackout velvet curtains from Amazon, and they have been amazing. They block out all the light, and they look really, really luxe, and they didn't break the bank. So that is a really fun element. I love how the green plays off with the neutral and creams of the room to create a very fun vibe. Over here, this is his dressing corner, and this dresser is actually really special because this was a piece from my husband's grandparents that was passed down to him, and I thought it was a great opportunity to put in Axel's room. He loves picking out his clothes, and we have some little vintage cowboy boots up on top. We have some seasonal flowers. He loves cars, so we always have 1 or 2 or 3 cars displayed up here. And I just feel like this little corner is really, really cool. Over here, we actually just recently transitioned him from a crib to a toddler bed. We took off the side, and now he's very comfortable sleeping here, but it still looks really nice. This really fun crib is a brass finish, and I think it really just elevates the whole room. It also plays really nicely with the green and the brown and the cream that we have going on over here. So this room was one of the first times that I really challenged myself to mix patterns. So with the wallpaper, I chose something very floral and organic, and in order to juxtapose that, I chose a plaid carpet and then chose soft finishes like pillows that also mix. So you'll see a gingham and then a floral pillow, as well as the quilts, which again, this is an heirloom quilt that my mom had made for Axel when he was born. And it just really all comes together for a fun mixture of color and pattern. So lastly, we are gonna head over onto our primary suite. So this is our primary room. I love this room, and we obviously spend a lot of time in here. My main priority for this room was creating a calming retreat that we could relax in at the end of a long day. Over here, both my husband and I work from home, and so we do have the office downstairs, but it's really nice to have a little workstation in our bedroom for answering emails or just doing that last minute task. I also think this is a great opportunity to display family photos. I am not a huge, or I'll say, You'll see I don't have a ton of family photos around, but I think there are really classic and timeless ways to do it. And doing photos in group gatherings like this in black and white is a really pretty way to do that. And it still almost looks like artwork. And this is actually an old desk from a restaurant that we found on Facebook Marketplace, and David helped me refinish it. And so I think it's really fun to have something old and rustic play off this very feminine skirted desk chair that I love. So when we renovated the home a couple of years ago, we actually added on the entire primary suite situation. So the house actually ended right here, and we added on a closet, a little vestibule, and our primary bathroom. So come on this way. So this is our primary suite. It's a small space, but it is a mighty space, and I'm really proud of what we did in here. We only had the amount of square footage over our downstairs office to build out on. And so we wanted to maximize the space without sacrificing any of the function that you need in a primary bathroom. So one of the things we chose to do was to pitch the ceiling, and that creates an illusion of height. It really draws your eye up. And we also installed shiplap tongue and groove boards on the walls, and all of that detail also tricks your eye into thinking that the room is bigger than it is. When you're also dealing with small spaces, I always try and keep either a really dark color and color drench the room, or go classic and do all white. And here we did all white, and I'm really happy because it feels very spa-like, very calming, and really, really nice place to be. We went with a full-size bathtub, and it's one of our favorite parts of the bathroom. My husband is a big tub guy and he loves it. He's also 6'2", so this bath is big enough for him to relax in. We also installed these really cute cafe curtains on the back. Even though we don't have neighbors towards the back, it is kind of nice for a little privacy when you're in here. Over here we have our shower. In order to make the bathroom feel as big and open as we could, we kept the walls glass, but we did add this pony wall here. It's a little bit more of a traditional classic look. And to make it even more custom looking and special, we ordered this custom shower handle, which I feel just elevates the whole thing a little bit more and makes it feel a little special. One of my favorite things about the bathroom is the checkerboard marble floors. This is a classic pattern, and I knew I wanted to implement it somewhere in the house, and doing our primary bathroom was the perfect opportunity. This is really, really fun detail of our bathroom. And to make it, again, feel as big as we could, we also took the checkerboard pattern into the shower floor, and because we chose a honed finish rather than a polished finish, we don't have to worry about that slipperiness or... Okay, I'm gonna hop in the shower because I wanna highlight the tile. If you will remember, we used the same tile in our kitchen, and I think this callback is a really nice way to make a home feel cohesive if you can use the same materials over and over in different parts of your house. So in this way, we reused some of the extra tile from the kitchen in the bathroom. And again, I just love the different texture. I love the different color variation of this Liège tile. It really creates a very unique look and feels very luxurious. The last little section of our bathroom is our vanity area. This section is really awesome because we had this vanity custom made with our cabinet company. Because this space was so small, we needed something that was sure to fit all of our stuff. And we really wanted a double sink situation, and luckily our cabinet company was able to help with that. So we chose a white oak matte finish vanity, and I love the way that this light wood plays off with the white walls and then the dark floors, and it comes with that very classic, timeless design. I also chose in the bathroom to mix a lot of the metals. So you'll notice that you'll see a lot of brass in the mirrors and the light fixtures, but then all the plumbing fixtures in the room are a polished nickel. And again, I feel like mixing metals just adds to that timeless look that you get in a home. So Our countertops are also marble. This was the one space in our house that we splurged on marble countertops, and we thought that it was the perfect space to do so. So I think home means to me is a place where you feel comfortable, you feel happy, you feel at peace. It's somewhere beautiful, but it's also somewhere that functions really well for your family. I have 2 little ones, and so our house does not always look picture perfect. We have toys, we have pets that also have toys, and I think having a home that reflects our personality and beauty, but also reflects the personality and fun spirit of my children is what home means to me. The memories we create here is what makes it so special. All right, Homeworthy, it's been a blast, but I gotta get back to Instagram. See you later.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.